All over our cities, along our coastlines and across our green and pleasant land, an invisible army is fighting a never-ending war. Their enemy is the filth that we create and the vermin that thrive on it. Welcome to the hidden world of the Grimefighters. On Grimefighters tonight, extreme cleaners Gary and Luke are on a mission to search and destroy.
There's a dead one there.
Working down the food chain, it keeps coming up.
When you see that floating around in sewers, you don't have sweet corn anymore.
This stately home may not be haunted, but you never know.
My son calls it the Ghostbuster outfit.
But first, in Dagenham, the latest empty property for Council Officer Tony to inspect doesn't look promising.
Another beautiful empty property on the borough. Absolutely delightful.
Despite being an empty property, it's full of all the wrong things.
Poor house smells coming up now.
And empty doesn't mean that it hasn't any tenants.
Just everywhere you go, there's rat and mice droppings just everywhere. The floor is absolutely covered.
Time to shed a little light.
Oops. Curtains are fixed up. Oh, nice.
When rats leave a sinking ship, this is obviously where they come to.
This looks like an area that the rats really liked. I mean, here they've just scrapped through everything, gone into every bag. You can see by the drawer, look, they've been nesting in here. Looks like there's probably been more mice and rats in here than people.
For rats, this would be a grand hotel. Make no mistake, well heeled.
I mean, you can see by the rats have just chewed all the shoes to bits. Well, there's a dead one anyway. A bit mummified, but it's dead.
This house has a dark history indeed.
Just thinking of that, living with those running about all over you, just unbelievable. And there's signs of children here as well, so goodness knows, you know. It just seems to have all totally collapsed around their ears.
How could people live like this?
Oh, well, much of the same upstairs.
How can any kind of ordinary life have been possible?
To me, it looks like an eviction. It's obvious whoever was living in here, there's definitely some reason for it being as bad as it is. There's no sign of drugs here, and I've not noticed any real signs of heavy drinking or anything. Probably a recluse. This person has just shut themselves away, and probably nobody knew they was living like it.
Tony can't dwell on the reasons for such squalor. His job is to make the house fit for a new family to move into. On the outside, this all looks very clean and efficient, and so it is, until it goes wrong. Today, there's a blockage in the sewage system at Maidenhead, and a Thames water team, who are not put off by work of this sort, are called in. The job of clearing the blockage falls to Paul, and for him there's no alternative. Someone's got to do it.
Just itching up for safety really because of the depth and actually what's down in the well. The last thing you're going to do is risk your life cleaning up this sort of stuff.
Paul doesn't hesitate. This is not a job for the faint-hearted.
As you can see, this is all the stuff that people put down their toilets. I mean, there's baby wipes, sanitary products, and the pumps can't take that away, so it's our job to come in, clean all this up. I can't go over that side.
The alarm on Paul's gas detector has alerted him to the presence of toxic gas. That sounds serious, and it is. Paul's gas detector warns him of the danger.
Hydrogen sulphide levels were too high over that side. Where it settles, the hydrogen sulphide sits underneath. Because I disturbed it, it's let the gases through. Obviously, if you stay down there and you collapse, you die, really, at the end of the day. By the time you get out, there's not a lot they'll be able to do for you. Down a bit.
But it's soon safe for Paul to get back to work. To clear the blockage, he'll be using a powerful suction pump attached to the truck. But now there's a technical hitch.
The lorry's making a noise which doesn't normally make, so now we've got to do some investigation and find out what's wrong.
Paul remains remarkably cheerful. While the pump is being mended, the cause of the blockage becomes obvious.
Most of this stuff's like cooking fats and oils. It gathers together, and on top of that you've got baby wipes, condoms, rubbish, general rubbish. Somewhere around here, look, someone's lost their ball, that's ended up down here. It puts you off sweet corn as well. Body can't digest sweet corn. When you see that floating around in sewers, you don't have sweet corn anymore.
It's easier and much cleaner to solve problems above ground.
Turned out to be a nut and bolt, and the engineers sorted it out again.
No one can say that the Grimefighters don't earn their money.
Oh, there goes the ball, bugger. There's a lot of power in the suction. If you do get your toes of your boot caught, you do have to turn it off. I mean, just to show you the suction, if that's around, it's gone.
Blockage cleared. Paul returns to dry land, but not for long. Another job looms. Back at the Dagenham house, the two-man SWAT team arrives. Gary and Luke were friends in the army, and now they work together fighting a war on the home front. Before they go over the top, they're briefed by their commanding officer.
Right, lads, over to you now. Loads of rats and mice droppings in there. When you finish clearing it, then bait it. All right, over to you, lads.
Gary and Luke move in cautiously. The key thing is to know your enemy.
You smell the rat straight away and see all the material, the nesting material around it. You see what they've been chewing on.
It's all about breeding, bad breeding.
Each female rat would have about 7 litters a year. Normally between about 6 and 10 in a litter at least. So
That's around 70 babies per female per year.
Once they've had their babies, they're ready straight away to reproduce again, aren't they? So you can imagine how fast this is going on if it's not getting treated.
While Gary plans an all-out assault on the ground floor, seasoned tracker Luke goes behind enemy lines and picks up the trail.
They're definitely using this path straight away. They're going up and down. Obviously, where their fur's dirty, they're just using this constant spot. It's just indicating where they're basically going.
these are just called smear markings. And it's a good thing in a way because it helps you when you're baiting the problem and everything else.
They're up against a ruthless, but certainly not a toothless, foe.
Obviously they've been getting in the drawers, but you can see how determined they do get. You can see where they've just been going in and out of that same hole.
They can run, but they can't hide.
Rats look like they're coming up through there. This is definitely a route for them to get through.
This is a serious battle. Hygiene matters. This has to be sorted out. Gary and Luke begin by clearing out the big items. On this job, they don't need an alarm to tell them there's a problem.
Well, there's a bad smell going in here. I don't know. We'll have a quick look, see what's in there.
The armchair has provided a final resting place.
There's a dead one there.
And that's what I could smell.
Stinks.
One thing you can say about Gary, he's got a nose for it.
It smells a good thing and a bad thing in a way because it's a good thing because you know that there is something there. You know, but it's a bad thing because it stinks.
What's surprising with all this evidence is that there's no direct contact. Where's the enemy gone?
If they're scared, they're going to just sit in the place they're at, and as soon as they get their chance, they'll dart across.
So far, in daylight, the enemy remains elusive. But before leaving, the lads prepare a surprise attack. These are fearful weapons, but the bait is only chocolate.
These are going to be new in their surroundings, and obviously we've moved a lot of stuff around today as well, so they'll be very wary tonight. I normally lay them around the floor edges because that's where their natural runs are normally are.
But will Gary and Luke achieve the victory they richly deserve? We'll have to see. On the other side of London, let's enjoy some cleaning on a grand scale. Osterley Park, one of the stateliest of stately homes in the country. Haunted? Well, possibly.
My son calls it the Ghostbuster outfit.
House steward Alan is not only a brilliant cleaner, he's a splendid guide.
We're in a long gallery. It would be used in the 18th century as a picture gallery as well as for entertaining. We could have musicians in here and dance a few minuets, but mostly it would be to show off your works of art.
The public keeps this National Trust property going, but it's the public who cause Alan's biggest problem. The trouble is, they bring in the dust.
Most of the dust comes from us and the visitors, so it's normally from about shoulder height downwards. So around now it may be looking a little bit tired, so we just I've got a vacuum cleaner that straps on my back, and just with my gilding brush, which is here somewhere, I would just gently dust off the gilding into the vacuum cleaner.
Proper dusting requires skill and a steady hand.
You need a very delicate touch. It's like brushing the dust off of butterflies' wings.
It's not just a matter of removing dust, it's a question of conservation.
Well, we're going to have a look at this painting. We can see here that we do get a bit of surface dust on here over the month, so again, halfway through the season, it's worth just livening it up a bit and just taking the dust off. The gilding has gone very black and grey in places. The dust has actually become fairly solid, and there's nothing we can do about that now unless we wanted to re-gild it. From here on in, keep it as clean as we can and try and conserve it for as long as possible.
Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. In the past, there were some great people who came here.
Probably one of the most famous ones was Henry James. In a little noveletta that he wrote, The Turn of the Screw, I think it's probably one of his most famous. He talks about this long gallery and this entry into another time, meaning that he could stand here and imagine himself travelling back to the middle 1700s.
In the world of the Grimefighters, there's no doubt Alan has struck it rich.
Yeah, I just feel so lucky. You're surrounded by all this lovely art and furniture, and it really is a dream job, yeah.
Coming up, Gary and Luke in the Dagenham flat are thwarted.
Chocolate completely gone.
On the River Humber, Danny receives coal from Russia with love.
Just for Danny.
And persistent Paul keeps up the fight against fat. Up and down the land, a little-known army of dedicated professionals are devoted to battling an ever-advancing tide of grime. In Dagenham, Gary and Luke return to check the results of their handiwork. They've laid some fearful traps baited with chocolate, which they're convinced the rats will find irresistible.
Still there.
But oh dear, how disappointing.
They haven't touched the trap so far.
Nothing on this one.
There's still a chance, though, upstairs.
Both traps have gone off, but unfortunately we haven't caught nothing this time. We're very clever. Let's have a quick.
Now Luke makes a galling discovery.
Chocolate completely gone. All eaten.
The score so far is rats 2, rat catchers 0.
There's actually paw prints where they've been walking over the top of it. I don't know if you can see that.
And cheeky with it.
We haven't actually caught anything, but, we can bait this out now. We know this is where they're actually going through, so in a way it's quite good. We know we can bait out now in good areas.
If at first you don't succeed, try something else.
The plan is we'll have a game of 101. When we're finished, we'll get on to have a good clean-up, really.
The great rat catcher never gives up, even if the furniture has been moved right out of the house.
Obviously, with all the urine and that's in there, when they get into a nest like this, it does make it stink bad.
They'd drive you out of your house and home if you gave them the chance.
Things like this, obviously, what they will do is they will literally drag that into the holes and go into that nesting area.
The whole property will now have to be cleared inch by inch.
I know they're in here.
Just when you think there can be no more rubbish, there's more rubbish.
There's a dead carcass there, so See all the bones in it.
There's another dead one there.
Gary and Luke are determined to make sure that this is a home, but not a home for rats. Near Heathrow, for Paul and his sewage team, it seems like Groundhog Day. They're back trying to clear a blockage. Yet again, Paul prepares to do his duty.
It's supposed to stop you from getting wet, isn't it? But don't take much to put a hole in them.
He must be careful, because down in the sewer, it's not just the smell he has to contend with, it could be dangerous. The old enemy, fat, fat and fat.
We're near an industrial estate and they do a lot of packaged food, so this is fat that they use. It goes down sinks, they're supposed to dispose of it properly, but a lot of it does go down.
It's time for a sophisticated approach.
Basically a good old-fashioned spade, just chop the fat off the pipework, really.
There's a reason why Paul must shift the encrusted fat from the pipes.
Pump's actually attached to these pipes on like a roller, and it goes up and down when they lift the pumps out. So you've got to keep it clean in case there's a problem and they need to come round and lift it out.
Paul keeps up his cheerful commentary. For him, it's match of the day.
These are electronic floats. The pumps are automatic. When the levels reach a certain point, the floats tell the pumps to start working. That's why you get this band of fat around the top. That's where the level is before the pumps start pumping away. And because the fat and everything else floats, this is the point where it sticks to.
Oh, gas.
Oh, my gas alarm's going off. Oh, it stopped. I must have breathed on it.
Paul's right, it's only a false alarm, but he has to be careful. This work is dangerous and dirty, but Perky Paul doesn't let it get him down.
Once you get used to the smell, a lot of travelling, you go all over the place. Beats sitting in an office, I suppose, but everyone's got their own preference and what they want to do.
Paul quickly clears the pipes. Another day, another drain.
That's it, all done, all finished.
It's watching him work which makes you think, what would we do without people like Paul?
Day's work, isn't it? No doubt tomorrow will be worse.
Back in Dagenham, Gary and Luke, despite their earlier setback, have not given up the fight. The house is now spotless. What a transformation. But they can't be complacent. After all, when the cat's away. But these little jobbies should do the trick.
What we're going to do is we're going to place a load around. It's got a whole wheat bait in it, which contains an active ingredient called difenicum. What it does is it stops the blood from clotting within the rats by depleting the vitamin K in their body.
It's one of the things they learnt in the army. Never take your enemy for granted.
We went to school together. We joined in the army together. Although we was in different battalions, we was both in the green jackets.
When you sort of get out of the army, you don't realise what you're going to get into. And it's just one of these things that, when you do get into it, we enjoyed it. It's good banter all the time, you know, you just got to crack on and laugh about it. Just got to keeps the job going, doesn't it? All done now, all done and dusted.
Yeah.
But have the enemy met their match? In the UK, coal-fired power stations still provide the bulk of our energy. These days, about 70% of the coal we use is imported, much of it from Eastern Europe. The coal arrives here at the mouth of the Humber in the form of rough dust, and on a windy day, this can pose a very real hazard. It's the job of Council Officer Danny Fox to keep an eye on proceedings, and with dust like this, a weather eye.
As you can see, we've got a hole here full of power station coal, fairly fine, 0 to 50 millimetres. We need to check whether or not there's any dust coming off it and whether or not we need to put any water in the hold to keep the coal dust down.
A Russian container ship is unloading 25,000 tonnes of coal dust.
Everything seems to be in order, no problems. Apart from, we just have got some very dusty coal gone in there. Just let me have a look. You on the radio to it? Yeah. Can you get some water? Yeah. On the hopper. The worst thing that can happen is the wind's in the wrong direction and the town of Immingham gets covered in black coal dust. And that's what we're striving to avoid at all costs.
Danny's job isn't over till the hold is completely free of coal dust.
Once the bulk of the cargo's been removed, then men have to go down there and sweep up the very last dregs that are in there, because this is a general cargo vessel. So its next cargo may not be coal, it could be wheat, it could be any bulk cargo, iron ore, so that the vessel has to be cleaned before it leaves the port.
It's very important that the dust isn't blown by the wind. Danny has reason to be pleased.
Thank you very much, everything's absolutely fine, and we'll see you next time. Have a good trip.
You're welcome.
Okay.
See you. Bye.
Dosvidania.
Since filming, we now know the Dagenham rats did meet their match. Paul and his team have continued to fight the fact.
Whoa.
And at Osterley Park, Alan haunts the long gallery.